So, I grew up with Pokemon. I was just a bit younger than the target demographic when the first season of the anime came to the US. I was there when the kids a few grades older than me were talking about the secret Mew under the truck in the first games, and this was not the only Mew-related rumor that was being shared around both then and for generations to come. There was also the classic Mew is able to learn every move. Any attack you could possibly think of, Mew can do because it is the common ancestor to all Pokemon, so sure, that makes perfect sense. So that does lead to questions like, how can it learn Horn Drill if it doesn't have a horn? Which in turn led to amazing fan art like this from Let's Draw Video Games on Tumblr, right though? You know, Mew does learn the move Transform. This could just be an extension of that. But no, this isn't how it works. It would be a lot cooler if it was, but alas. Anyway, I am here to tell you that Mew does not, in fact, learn every move. Yeah, just like the Mew under the truck thing, it's a rumor, a falsehood. Well, sort of. Canonically, in the classic games, Mew can learn any move. Here are the Pokédex entries. Because it can learn any move, some people began research to see if it is the ancestor of all Pokemon. A Pokemon of South America that was thought to have been extinct. It is very intelligent and learns any move. But then, starting in Diamond and Pearl, this changed because now its Dex entries read, because it can use all kinds of moves, many scientists believe Mew to be the ancestor of Pokemon. Its DNA is said to contain the genetic codes of all Pokemon, so it can use all kinds of techniques. So it went from any move to all kinds of moves and techniques because now there were a multitude of exceptions, such as Draco Meteor. In Heart Gold or Soul Silver, you can take your Mew to the move tutor all you want, but they will not be able to do anything because Mew cannot learn Draco Meteor in this generation. The same goes for the moves Frenzy Plant, Blast Burn, and Hydro Cannon, moves exclusive to starter Pokemon, and even as recently as Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee with the special Mew you get for having the Pokeball Plus accessory, this Mew is unable to learn those moves, with the addition of a new move it can't learn, Steel Beam. You'd think these games being a return to Kanto, we'd see Mew return to its Gen 1 any move glory, but no. And even in Pokemon Go, Mew doesn't learn every move. Yeesh. So where did this early gen idea come from? Well, I mean, the Pokédex entries for Mew, obviously, but why write them that way? Because even in Gen 1, there are 165 moves, and Mew's natural learn set, the list of moves any given Pokemon can learn by leveling up, contains only 5. But then when you include the TM and HM moves it can learn, we get another 55. But that means there are still 105 moves in the original games that Mew is unable to learn. That is more than half. Mew is an exposed fraud! But you know what's not cancelled? Today's sponsor. I have a mustache now as a sign of me being in my 30s. It turns out growing up is hard to do when you're not a Mew or fit in any capacity. All these new aches and pains, all the necessary changes to my diet and lifestyle, the silver hairs. But unironically, aside from my pancreas dying, the next most impactful change in my life was when I first got a mattress from Helix Sleep. Because ever since middle school playing Pokemon Silver, I thought struggling to fall asleep as much as I did was normal, but it turns out it's not. 9 years ago, in my early 20s, I was approached by Helix for the first time for a YouTube sponsorship. I took their sleep quiz in under a few minutes, which matched me and my wife's sleep style to the Helix Midnight Lux, and we didn't even need their long sleep trial to fall in love with it. And I was skeptical at first. I thought my sudden sleeping so much better had to be a placebo, but no. 9 years on, the nights I struggle to sleep are the exception rather than the norm now. It's always because of the anxiety of, I have to wake up early for thing that makes sleeping hard. None of the other sponsorships I've done over the years have come close to how much I appreciate and stand by this one. Especially because mattresses are one of the best things you can invest in, because they literally impact your entire life. You sleep for a third of your life. To say life is better when you sleep comfortably is an understatement. So check out their President's Day sale for 27% off of everything by using the link below, and seriously, take it from this old man, good sleep good. I can almost hear the actually comments now. Yes, Mew is able to learn every TM, TR, and HM move. It's the only Pokemon able to do that even. But that only scratches at the surface of any move, hence the revision to all kinds of moves instead. But actually, there's more to it than that perhaps. Learning a move is not the same as using a move. When a Pokemon learns a new move, they add it to their attack menu in battle, and they can only remember 4 at a time for game balancing reasons. While original Mew will only ever have a choice of 4 from only 60 of the 165 moves in there, that's just it learning the moves. That's not including simple usage of it. But 2 of Mew's basic moves learned simply through leveling up are Metronome and Transform, which are special. Metronome in Gen 1 was only naturally learned by one other Pokemon, Clefairy, and Gen 2 and 3 only added one more Mon to the mix, Togepi. It's exclusive to them for various reasons, but honestly, it is probably the funniest move in Pokemon. Simply, the user waggles its finger, triggering a move. There is no telling what will happen. The user waggles a finger and stimulates the brain into using any move at random. The user randomly uses any Pokemon move. I don't trust it though. Just how much can we trust this any, you know? There are 930 moves in Pokemon now. Does Metronome literally roll a 930-sided die to choose a move? Gosh, it'd be like a sphere almost. Well, simply put, no, Metronome does not pull any move. You're being lied to once again, but it's a good thing. Think about it. Imagine you use Metronome and randomly get the move Snore. Snore is a sound-based damaging move that only works if your Pokemon is sleeping, and if your Pokemon is sleeping, then it wouldn't have been able to use Metronome. So, Metronome choosing Snore means nothing happens. You wasted a turn. And that's why, starting in Generation 5, Snore was added to the list of moves that Metronome cannot choose. And that list is long. Here it is. Most of the moves on here are either signature moves like Origin Pulse, Sketch, Fluor Cannon, and Shatter, or they are moves with a high likelihood of failure. Moves like Protect, Counter, and Endure only work if they are used before the opponent Pokemon attacks, hence those moves being priority moves, unlike Metronome. So poor Clefairy gets smacked by a faster Pokemon like Perugly, then uses Metronome, which chooses Protect.
Yahaha! Now I'll be safe from your attack! Oh, you already attacked, didn't you?
Yow!
Yeah, and there goes the protection. Yeah!
And so, moves like that were made unmetronomable. But you'll notice that it was later generations that made more and more moves metronomeless. Metronome could pick Counter in Gen 1. Same with Mirror Move and Mimic. Are there any moves in Gen 1 that Metronome couldn't pick? Aha! Struggle. Does that count? Struggle is sort of the default Pokemon move. All Pokemon are able to use it, but none can specifically select it. Rather, it's what a Pokemon does when all of its other moves run out of PP.
Yes! This battle will only get strategically deeper like the very seas themselves! Wait, why are you crying?
My Combuskin can't go any deeper. It's all out of PP.
Combusk.
Being that Struggle is an unselectable move, it makes sense that Metronome would also not select it, even in Gen 1. So I wouldn't count that unless I was being extremely pedantic. So, yes, at least originally, Mew, via Metronome, could use any move, though not necessarily learn it. But starting in Generation 2, nope. Any move, no more. But what about the move Transform? Huh? From the original Pokemon games through to today, only 2 Pokemon are capable of learning Transform, Ditto and Mew. Transform is Ditto's whole deal. In fact, it's the only move Ditto can learn. And when using Transform, the user becomes a copy of the opposing Pokemon, and in doing so, they gain not only their appearance, but their type, and stats, and their moves too. And therefore, a transformed Mew or Ditto can indeed use the signature moves of the Pokemon they have transformed into as well. So suddenly, Metronome not being able to select V-Create or Jet Punch doesn't matter. Mew can transform into a Victini or a Palafin to use those moves. And with that, Suddenly all of that metronome business we did doesn't matter anymore. Any move that any Pokemon can learn can be used by a transformed Ditto or Mew. So yeah, Mew can't learn every move, but it can use every move. Except there are still exceptions. Some are a bit nitpicky though, honestly, but get this. Transform does take into account what form the opposing Pokemon is in. For example, does Keldeo look like it's wearing a naughty wyvern on its head or not? That will be accounted for when Mew or Ditto transform into them. It even considers the clothes that a partner Pikachu is wearing. However, Dynamaxing is not treated like a form change. So transform on a Dynamaxed or Gigantamaxed Pokemon will instead just copy their base form. And it doesn't copy over their Gigantamax factor. Meaning, even if you had them use the move Transform against a Gigantamax Pikachu, they would become a basic Pikachu. If you then Dynamaxed, you would get Dynamax Pikachu, not Gigantamax Pikachu. Neither Mew or Ditto can become Gigantamax Pokemon, period. So suddenly, there are 33 moves they cannot even use. Those being the G-Max moves, the signature moves of the Gigantamax Pokemon. So no matter what, Mew cannot ever use G-Max Gold Rush, or G-Max Foam Burst, or G-Max Drum Solo. Oh no! Mew's band-related dreams! Then, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet introduced 5 more moves Mew will never use. The Torque moves: Blazing Torque, Combat Torque, Magical Torque, Noxious Torque, and Wicked Torque. These are the moves exclusive to the Starmobile forms of Revavroom, which Transform also always fails against. Transform also does not copy the Terra types of the target, so if your transformed Mew or Ditto terastallizes, the type will remain the same as what it was before it even used Transform. And if their opponent is specifically a terastallized Ogerpon or Terapagos, Transform just fails. And even if they transformed into Terapagos or Ogerpon before they terastallized, your transformed Mon will not be able to terastallize, period. It will just fail. Meaning that while your Mew turned Terapagos could use its basic signature move, Terra Starstorm, it will never be able to use the beefed up multi-targeting version of it, only available while Terapagos is in its special stellar form. Maybe that last one is a bit pedantic, but still, there is good news, however. While Gen 9 added a few more impossible moves, it also fixed a pretty glaring Mew omission. An omution, you could say. Come Generation 9, Mew can now learn Steel Beam and Draco Meteor, and those starter-exclusive moves too, at a move tutor. It's like Game Freak realized they'd been neglecting the whole Mew learns every move thing and finally got their act together. So yes, Mew can learn every move. That is teachable again. Mew can use every TM, every TR, and be taught any move that is teachable via a move tutor. But even combined, that doesn't include every move. Any kind of move, as the later Pokédex puts it? Sure, except I would argue that Torque, Struggle, and G-Max moves are different kinds of moves, so maybe not.